Al Kadosh, Boker Or, Masechet Nazir daf Amud Aleph. Says the Mishnah, we're starting a new Perek Sheni, which is the second chapter, and and a new Mishnah. So it's Perek Sheni, daf Amud Aleph. Mishnah says, Hareni Nazir mina grogerot mina devela. If a person comes and he says that he's going to become a Nazir from the grogerot, remember grogerot are dried figs, or devela are the figs which are pressed, okay? And therefore, right, the Kabbalat Nazirut is not prohibiting only that which comes out from the geffen. So it comes over here, it doesn't come from the geffen, meaning it doesn't come from wine. Figs is not wine. So therefore, if a person says, Hareni Nazir mina grogerot mina devela, Bet Shammai omrim Nazir. Bet Shammai says he's a Nazir. Why? The second that he says, Hareni Nazir, is a Nazir. Afterwards he comes and he says it's from this and this. Yeah, well, doesn't matter. Yeah, that's what he says. So he says, Bet Hillel omrim. Bet Hillel says, no. Omrim and a Nazir. He's not a Nazir. Why? Because he only prohibited something with the Shon Neder, the Nazirut, and it has nothing to do with anything. Right? Nazirut has nothing to do with that. Okay? So now the Gemara says, Amar Rabbi Yehuda, says Rabbi Yehuda, Apke Shamru Bet Shammai lo Amru, Ela Omer Harre Hen Alai Ki Korban. Even according to Shirda Bet Shammai, that they say that you do become a Nazir, that's only when he says that he's going to be a Nazir mina grogerot mina devela. It means that he says it's going to be prohibited to him like a korban, which means the Bet Shammai modim that it's not going to be chal the Nazirut, but they hold that the grogerot and the devela is going to be asur. But according to Bet Hillel, not only that he's not a Nazir, but also the grogerot and the devela is nothing. Because it's like, it cannot chal. You understand? A person comes and he says, he's a Nazir from this. That's nothing, right? It's not a Nazir. So therefore, even the grogerot and devela, he's allowed to eat, according to Bet Hillel. According to Bet Shammai, no. But according to Bet Shammai, you're not a Nazir, but he says, but you're a Nazir from that. Those things become prohibited.
Like a neder?
Well, that's what he says. You have to say, Hare alai ke korban. You're like to me like a korban. Because a Nazirut cannot fall on something which has nothing to do with Nazirut. Remember it says, Nazirut from chocolate.
No, but when we saw in Nedarim, the way you explain.
Remember that the Mishnah just said that if a person says he's a Nazir from the Grogerot to the Devila, Bet Shammai comes and he says that he's a Nazir. Why? The Torah says mefurash that it has to be something that comes out of the Gefen Hayayin. So answers the Gemara, Bet Shammai savri la, Bet Shammai hold like Rabbi Meir. A person will never take out his words in vain, which means a person will never come and say something in vain for no reason. So the fact that he said Hareni Nazir, he wanted to become a Nazir. He mentioned afterwards shtuyot, like nonsense, which is devela, figs, doesn't matter. But he becomes a Nazir. Bet Hillel Savri and Bet Hillel hold, right, like Rabbi Yosef. That a person always uses his last words, that's a finishing touch, which means his main aspect is at the end. Okay? And this is a Nazirut that is mitbatel through itself, which means the fact that it's not a Nazirut at all, because at the end of the day, it was like opened up from the beginning. Okay? He says, 1 second, but even according to Bet Shammai, this is a Nazirut of Grogerot, which is a Neder, and it has its petach with it. Remember, there's no Nazirut of Grogerot, so at the end of the day, it's going to be Mivatel. That's what it means, it has a petach. It has like an entrance that you could annul it from the beginning. So how is it going to say that it's going to be a Nazir? But rather, Bet Shammai hold like Rabbi Meir. The person does not take out his words of Vatala. And since he says Hareni Nazir, Nazir, now he becomes a Nazir. When he says mina grogerot mina devela, lichulehu dekati, he's coming to be choser on his Kabbalat Nazirut. Bet Shammai leta'amayu, now Bet Shammai come and they say, according to the reasoning, the amri en she'ela be'ekdesh, you cannot come and do she'elat chacham to be mevatel a neder for ekdesh. The kevin chen she'ela be'ekdesh en she'ela be'nazirut. So the fact that you cannot do she'ela be'ekdesh, meaning you cannot annul something that you just consecrated to the Bet HaMikdash. So too, there's no she'ela also by nazirut. Okay? And therefore, even if it was done talking the dibur, and therefore you cannot come and you cannot annul, right, the nizirut. Okay, fine. Says the Gemara, Bet Hillel Savri Rabbi Shimon. Now Bet Hillel comes, and they hold like Rabbi Shimon. The Tanakh we learned in the Mishnah. Rabbi Shimon poter. Rabbi Shimon comes and he says you don't have to bring a mincha. Imagine a person comes and he says Harei alai mina mincha le'avi min ha'seorim. He's going to bring a meal offering, but the meal offering is going to be from the seorim, from barley. So he has to bring it from wheat, because the meal offering is from wheat. It's flour. It's a flour offering, right? So he says, Rabbi Shimon says, you're patur to bring it at all. As he says, but you didn't do it like the normal way of the mitznadvim. What is the mitznadvim? The ones that make the nedava. Okay? Teta mubet. So 9b. So says the Gemara, matznitin deloki aitana. So this Mishnah is not like this Tana. The Tana we learned to the Braita. Rabbi Natan Omer, Rabbi Natan says, Bet Shammai Omrim, Bet Shammai says, Nadur v'nazir. A person becomes a neder from the Gurgurot and the Devilot, and he also becomes a nazir, right, if he didn't say anything. Bet Hillel Omrim, Bet Hillel says, Nadur v'en nazir. So this is, I think, what the Dr. John Paul was trying to say. According to the Shita of what we just said now, there was a matniti, there was a Tana, that he comes and he says like this. He comes and he says, right, the following. Right? He comes and he says like this. He says, according to this Tana, it comes out that there's something very, very important. Right? What comes out? He comes and he says that it's going to be very important, right? That he says like this. He says, if a person, this is what you said before, doctor. According to this Tana, there is a Tana that they hold the following halakha. If you came and you just said, Hareni Nazir, but then you said, Mina Gurgov, Mina Devila. So according to Bet Shammai, it's both. Nizirut is a Nizirut, and Gurgov, Mina Devila is like a neder on those two. Yeah, right, on those two. Now, according to the other one, which is Shitat Bet Hillel, it's a neder, which means that you make a neder on Gurgurot and Devila, but there's no Nizirut. So that means this Tana of the Mishnah, that means our Mishnah is not going like this. Because our Mishnah said, according to Bet Hillel Walo, it's no neder and it's no nazirut. And according to Bet Shammai, it's a nazirut, but there's no neder. Here it's saying the exact opposite. According to everybody, it's a neder. The only question is there nazirut or not? Bet Shammai, yes, Bet Hillel, no. That's this Matriti Dilo Kaitana. It's not like this author of the Mishnah. So Bet Shammai, now we have to explain it now according to this. Right? Bet Shammai, Savila Kerebi Meir, Ukrab Yehuda. Bet Shammai hold like Rabbi Meir that a person will never take out his words in vain. So for the fact that he said Hareni Nazir, he's a Nazir. There's nothing more to talk about. But he also explains like Rabbi Yehuda, right, that at the end of the day is that if right now, right, a person had kavanah that is going to be a sur for him like a korban, they're going to be a sur. Even though Bemet he didn't actually say it mefurash, but it's like. That's what I think the doctor said before. It's like they said it. He didn't actually say a sur. But when he said Hareni Nazir, it's like he's saying that it should be a Nazir for him. These objects, these items, which we're talking about, food. Bet Hillel Sabri and Bet Hillel whole, right? Rabbi Yosef, like Rabbi Yosef. Okay, which is like what? That even that a person will always take the end of his words. And since he takes the end of his words, obviously, right, it's considered a neder upitcho imo, and therefore it's not a nazir. But, right, if he did explain his words in the beginning, it's going to be a surbe grogerot. Okay? Lishna charina amrila. There was another lishna charina, which means another lashon, another right language that said, Rabbi Natan Omer Bet Shammai Omrim Nadur ve'eno Nazir, right? Which is the exact opposite. What do you mean the exact opposite? Right? What did we just say? One more time. Our Mishnah said he's, according to Bet Shammai, Nazir ve'eno neder. According to Bet Hillel, eno Nazir ve'eno neder. No. Right? XX in the two boxes. This Matnit and Kaitana said, according to everybody, it's a neder. Bet Shammai, Bet Hillel, it's a neder. Is it a nazir? Bet Shammai, yes. Bet Hillel, no. Now he comes and he says, 1 second. Alishna Charina says, Rabbi Natan Omer, Bet Shammai says it's a neder, but it's not a nazir. And according to Bet Hillel, it's not a neder and not a nazir. So now here we have like a third shita now. One more time. We have a Mishnah. Yeah, listen very carefully. We have a Mishnah. The Mishnah brought out a machloke Bet Shammai, Bet Hillel. According to the way that we learned our Mishnah, a person said Hareni Nazir, but then he explained Mina Grugurot, Mina Devilot, from the figs, from different types of figs. Now we know there's no such thing as Nazirut for figs, it's only on wine. So in our Mishnah, it was only brought down, the Bet Shammai says he's a Nazir, Bet Hillel says he's not a Nazir. To do it Nedarim, XX, no. Not according to Bet Shammai, not according to Bet Hillel, there's no Nazirut, Nedarim, there's no Neder. There's only Nazirut according to Bet Shammai, no Nazirut according to Bet Hillel. We brought down another Tana. Another Tana on Teta Mubet we brought down, Matniti Dulo Kaitana, that there it said that it was a neder according to everybody. Whether according to Bet Shammai, Bet Hillel, it's a neder. Neder, why? You're not allowed to eat figs. Not dried figs or not the other figs, which was like plastic figs. Nothing. Mina dvila, mina gurugurot. Okay. Neder according to everybody. Nezirut. Bet Shammai says yes. Bet Hillel says no. Next, third opinion now. Lishna Charina, third version. Right? Lishna Charina means there's another version that they said. And Minatan says, Bet Shammai Omrim, Bet Shammai says, Nadur ve'eno nazir. What does that mean, Nadur ve'eno nazir? It's a neder, but there's no nazir according to Bet Shammai. And according to Bet Hillel, it's nothing. So, according to this Lishna Charina, Bet Hillel, we didn't change. Bet Hillel was no nazirut, no nedarim. Chazak uruch. Just like our Mishnah. The only difference is in the Mishnah was Bet Shammai. According to what we read in our Mishnah, there was Nezirut and no Neder. Now, according to the Mishnah Charina, there is a Neder and there's no Nezirut. Right? So, according to this Lashon, Bet Shammai goes like Rabbi Yehuda, and Bet Hillel, right, goes like Rabbi Shimon. That means basically that Bet Hillel says like Rabbi Shimon that anybody that makes a Neder that's not like the normal way of making a Neder is a klum. And according to Bet Shammai, he holds like a Yehuda that it is going to become a neder. So the truth is, you actually have a chart over here, and that in the chart he explains exactly what we just said now. Okay, fine. Tananatam. We learned over there in a Mishnah. This is a Mishnah Menachot. Imagine a person comes and he says, "I'm going to bring a meal offering." Remember, a meal offering is a flour offering. Right, which is basically from kemach, solet. It comes from fine flour, but of wheat, not of barley. But he comes and he says he's going to bring it from barley, from seorim, instead of from wheat. Says the Mishnah, he brings it from wheat. Kemach, right? If he says from flour, but it's not sifted flour, if he's solet, he has to bring fine flour, which is basically sifted. Shelo v'shem without oil and frankincense, he has to bring it. Chetzi asiron, if he says he's only going to bring a half of an isaron, if isaron shalem, he has to bring a full one. Isaron makes a 1.5, he brings 2. Rabbi Shimon poter, Rabbi Shimon says he's not allowed to bring, he doesn't have to bring anything. So again, this is a machloka between Rabbi Shimon and Rabbi Yehuda. According to Rabbi Shimon, whenever it's not like the norm of how you bring it, you don't have to bring nothing. That was our Mishnah, that is Shita of Bet Hillel, and that's what we just brought down here as well. But according to Shita of Yehuda, no. You still have to bring it, but you have to bring it like the normal way. That means even though you said that you're bringing it differently, you have to bring like the normal. Okay? So says the Gemara, who is the Tana that holds that if you say that you're going to bring a mincha from the barley, you're going to bring it from the wheat? So says the Gemara, Chizkiya says, machloket shenuya, it's a machloket, ubet Shammai hin, it's Bet Shammai. Lavam li Bet Shammai, doesn't Bet Shammai say, ki amar mina grogro, mina dvila, vina zir, that it is a nezirut? Hachanami, so to here, when you say mina sorin, you have to bring from the chitim, even though it's not, there's no minchat nedava coming from seorim, but since the person doesn't take out his words in vain, like Rabbi Me'in, so therefore, obviously, he still has to bring it like normal. Okay? Rabbi Yochanan comes and he says, no, that's not the Tanakama. He says, even if you want to say it's according to everybody, but Shammai, but according to everybody. Okay? Be'omer, here you said, meaning, if somebody would have told you, listen, by the way, you just made a neder, you want to bring a mincha, right? A flour offering, a meal offering. Do you know that you can't bring it from barley? If I would have known, I wouldn't have said it that way. I would have said it from the barley. I would have said, sorry, from the wheat. But you can't bring from the barley. You can only bring from the wheat. So therefore, when a person says that, so therefore that's when a person is going to be chayav to bring from the wheat. Because basically he said, if I would have known, I would have done it properly. Right? The fact that he says, if I would have known, I would have done it properly, that's already dalacha.
It's more expensive than barley.
Right? What are we talking about? Where we're talking about where a person said that he's bringing it from the barley. But if he says he's bringing it from lentils, meaning, even according to these opinions, it's only if there was some type of, how do you call this? When it's similarity. So, for example, wheat and barley, but lentils has nothing to do with anything. So, therefore, if a person is going to come and he's going to say from the lentils, right, is going to come and he's not going to do that. Okay? So he says like this, Mifti, Chizkiya keman mukim lal matnin. So according to Chizkiya, who does our Mishnah go like? Like Bet Shammai. He says, 1 second, but what's the connection between adashim and the mincha is the same connection between grogerot and nazirut. What do we say in our Mishnah?
Which is no connection.
No, but we said that it is according to the Shita of Bet Shammai. Okay? According to Shita Bet Shammai, it is a connection, meaning that we do say that there's something. So why do we say right now that if you said from the Adashim, it's klum, it's nothing? Only if you said it from barley, then it's something. Here, what about our Mishnah? The Mishnah says, right, grogerot is still something according to Bet Shammai. Right? V'akamri Bet Shammai, if nazir, it is a nazir. Meaning, just like by our Mishnah, a person becomes a nazir even though there's no connection between figs and nazirut. So too by adashim, there's no connection between adashim and a meal offering. Adashim are lentils, right? There's no connection, but still you should bring a meal offering. So answers the Gemara, Hadar beChizkiah, you're right. Chizkiah retracted from that shita of the Tanakama and Menachot, that it says that no, it's really be'emet going to be like shita Tanakama and Menachot is like the shita of Bet Shammai. So says the Gemara, my Hadar, why did he retract? Rava says, he had a question from the Mishnah. It says, my idea of the Tani mina seorim. Why do we say from seorim? Liti mina adashim. Meaning, in the Mishnah in itself, this is the Mishnah Menachot. Why does it say in the Mishnah Menachot that if a person comes and he makes a neder, he's going to bring a mincha from the seorim? So he has to bring a regular mincha, which is from wheat, not seorim, from wheat, from chitim, not from seorim. Why didn't it just bring them from adashim? Adashim is more of a wild card, right? Something completely different. And you would have still said the same halacha. But rather Chizkiah says, when does Bet Shammai come and say in Menachot, like our Mishnah, like according to Rabbi Yehuda, that according to him, when he says, only if you're mitfaresh, you're mitkaven to prohibit grogerot, so then it's going to be asur grogerot. But when a person comes and he says, so there is such a concept of seorim that a person could make a mistake by it. But when a person comes and he says adashim, it's like too far out that a person will not make a mistake. So therefore, it's nothing. Okay, it's nothing, completely nothing. Okay, but Rabbi Yochanan comes and he says, afilu min adashim. Even if a person does say from the adashim, he still does have to bring a mincha from the chitim. Okay, so one more time. Even if a person says from the adashim, he still has to bring it from the chitim. So says the Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan, Hu Damar beOmer, Ilo Hayiti Yodeh Shomrim Kach, Lo Nudati Lekach Vekach. Meaning, this is what Yitzchak asked beforehand. According to Shitat Rabbi Yochanan, it's only if I would have said that if I would have known. Meaning, a person, even according to Rabbi Yochanan, he says, if I would have known that you can't do it from barley, I would have done it from wheat. So then you have to bring it from the wheat. But if you don't say those words, if I would have known, then I would have done it. Or like what you said, the exact opposite, that I wouldn't have. So for sure, it's nothing. So therefore, here too, it's not just enough to say that according to Rabbi Yochanan, even if you said adashim, it's good enough. You would have had to say, if I would have known that I couldn't have brought lentils and I had to bring it from wheat, so I would have said it from wheat. Then it would be good according to Rabbi Yochanan. So answers the Gemara, lidvarav de Chizkiah de Kaman. He's going in according to the words of Chizkiah. At maitama, right? Kadart beach. Why did you retract? Mishum de loktani min adashim, because you didn't learn in the Mishnah min adashim. Dilma lo mibaya Kaman. Maybe it's not lo mibaya. Lo mibaya means lo mibaya Kaman adashim. Not only if is it in the case of adashim that you would still have to bring it. The kalamimar that you could say medarhu de hadar be that you actually retracted. And therefore, according to Bet Shammai, there's no chazara, which means you cannot retract from your words. But if you said from the seorim, this is what it means to say. If it's going to be like korbana omer, that's what I just told you. Korbana omer is from the seorim, from the barley. Yeah? Or like the minchat sota, yudam add the aleph on the top. We're just getting to the Mishnah. Or like a minchat sota. Minchat sota is also from barley. Why is minchat sota from barley? Because she did an animalistic act, right? She went and she maybe committed infidelity. That's like being like an animal. If she was more like a human, she wouldn't have gone after her desires, her lust, and cheated on her husband. So therefore, the fact that she did an animalistic act, she has to bring, and the korban sota, it comes from the barley, right? So he says, oh, minchat sota, tigdosh, right? It should become kadosh, v'lo, and if not, no. Mashmalan comes to teach you, right? The mighty mina chitim, that you're coming from the chitim. What does that mean from the chitim? He comes and he says, right? He comes and he says you have to bring it from the chitim, which means our Mishnah needed to tell us in the case of the seorim that you're bringing from the chitim. We're not going to come and going to explain, but rather the kavanah is that you have to bring a regular mincha like the halacha. But the obligation is going to go back to the beginning. That since there's no chazara, that means chazara does not help. So you're obligated to bring it from the chitim. And according to Shtat Rabbi Yochanan, he's bringing down the svara from the adashim. You bring it from the chitim, and from the seurim is not. You don't bring anything. Okay, just like what he mentioned before. So that's just the Gemara until here. Tomorrow we start with Mishnah.